Okay, guys, still grinding our way through the E section of the CD collection. After this video, on the next one, there will be a brief little portion of E albums, and then we'll move on into the Fs. I know it feels like we've been stuck in the E section for entirely too long. But just moving on, starting out, we have some New Jersey Funeral Doom Death. This is Evoking with Embrace the Emptiness. This is their debut full-length killer release, one of the best, not the best in their discography, but one of the best in the discography. I have this one thanks to Rick over at the Dreadful Minutes. He sent me an actual copy. I had a CDR copy for a while, and apparently that was unacceptable to him, and he made sure that I got the full length there. Also have Evoking with Antithesis of Light. This is in one of those wonderful super jewel cases, which I absolutely hate. I'm glad those never caught on and became like a big thing. This one is a little bit cracked, but it's almost impossible to change it out because it's a super jewel case. So there we go. This is a good album as well. Actually, I don't think Evoking has a bad album in their discography that I can think of. I don't own all of their releases. I only have 3. I have their newest release that came out, I think this one came out either 2017 or 2018, and this is my favorite in their discography. This is Evoking with Hypnagogia. I butchered that, but either way, this is a phenomenal release. This is about as perfect of a Funeral Doom Death album as you could possibly managed to put together. There are very, very few albums that I would consider just almost absolutely perfect in the genre that they're in, and this is one of those albums. It's that good. So, next up, this is some gothic metal out of Germany. This is a release that I picked up at a FYE in Virginia. It was used, and it was fairly cheap. It's not a bad album. It is the debut from this band. Apparently they put out some better material since this. I just heard this and I haven't sought out more of their material, so at some point I may dig a little deeper into their discography, but from what I've heard, it seems like the band has progressed and put out better music since this, but this isn't bad. It's just kind of middle of the road. This is Ewigheim with Mord nicht Grund. Yeah, I'll hold that up so you can kind of see the band name there. I mean, it's pretty decent, kind of melodic, I guess very melodic, gothic metal, doomy at times, obviously. Progressive as well. I mean, it's not horrible. It's not something that I'm going to return to all the time, but still a fairly decent release. Scoot these over a little bit. Next up, we have some death metal. This is Exterminates with Thou Shall Repulse. Very kind of tongue-in-cheek death metal. Obviously, you can kind of see that that cartoony artwork there is a bit ridiculous. It's funny. These guys are very funny. They don't take themselves seriously, so that's a good thing. And I mean, musically, they pull it off as well. Sometimes these kind of comedy death metal acts kind of leave something to be desired, but Exterminates, they put it together pretty well. And this next one I absolutely love. This is Exterminates with The Red Mass. This is my favorite of the 2 that I own. This one's just got some hilarious stuff on here. This was released through Horror, Pain, Gore, Death. They have another full length, their newest. I think just one more that has come out since this one, and that was really good as well. It may be better than either one of these, but unfortunately I don't have that one yet. At some point I would like to get my hands on that one and put it in the discography in the collection. I believe it was released on Horror, Pain, Gore, Death as well. I could be wrong on that, but I think that newer release was released through that label. Next up, we have some symphonic death metal. This is featuring one of the members of Cataclysm. When this debut album came out, 2009, when it came out, it was like over promoted. It was everywhere, so I had to check it out. I think I just liked it more then because it was being promoted so heavy, and it was one of those like you're supposed to love this. You're supposed to. This is Exile with Romulus. It's not a bad project. I mean, it's symphonic death metal. There are symphonic death metal bands that do it better. It's still a solid listen. I do enjoy it. When I bought this, I picked up the package that was the pre-order with the shirt and the CD, and they were just hyping this up so much that it was going to be just the best thing ever. And so when I listened to it, I wanted it to be the best thing ever, and I did enjoy it, but it's just one of those, the band just hasn't stood the test of time with me moving forward. I just haven't followed along with them as much as I thought I would have. I picked up the follow-up to that entitled Caligula, I believe is how you pronounce that. This one was probably a step up from Romulus, and it didn't receive half of the hype that the Romulus album received at the time. I think they have like 2 or 3 more full lengths that have come out since Caligula, but I never got around to picking them up. I think I'm just kind of set with these two, and it's not really a style of death metal that I just find myself returning to that much anyway. So, and there are bands like Septic Flesh that I feel like pull it off a little bit better. Next up, this is an album that I received in a package deal from New Damage Records. I had never heard of this project prior to that, and it turned out to be one of my favorite releases that were in that package. And it's a killer album. I really do dig this. This is Exalt with Pale Light. Very naturific artwork there on that. This is, I don't want to call it metalcore. It's hardcore, but it has like some atmospheric doomy type stuff. Even almost feels like some post metal, perhaps, in some of the atmospherics. I know it's been described as metalcore, but I feel like calling it metalcore is a bit of a disservice to this particular release, because I mean there are aspects of hardcore and aspects of metal in this, so technically, yeah, you could say metalcore. There's the actual disc, but it just doesn't feel like what I have metalcore mapped out as sounding in my mind. This does not follow that lead. It kind of has its own sound going. It's very original sounding, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. But that's a killer release, and I was glad to have found that in that little grab bag package deal that I got from New Damage. That's one thing I like about grab bags, is I find stuff sometimes that I really like that I probably never would have checked out otherwise. Speaking of things that I got in grab bags that I never would have checked out otherwise, we have Exaltation with Tales of Total Sickness. I got this in that massive Severed Records 100 CD grab bag mystery box that I did. This is run-of-the-mill brutal death metal. This is one that I mean, the artwork doesn't really just jump out and catch me. Musically, it doesn't jump out and catch me. It's one of those albums I never would have listened to. Probably never would have listened to had it not been for that grab bag. But I mean, it's not bad. It's not great. It is just relentless blast beats. If you like blast beats, it is pretty much just relentless from start to finish blast beats. And I mean, it is what it is. That's what it is. Next up, we have some black metal. This is Exalted with We Are the Grim Throng. This is one of those releases that I would see everywhere in the bargain bins, and I mean it's not terrible. It is black metal out of Chicago. It is definitely, if you see this in one of those used bargain bins and you're into black metal, it's worth like the $1.99 price tag that you're going to pay to check this out. I would advocate on picking it up for that. If it's full price, you know, 10, 11 bucks, I would probably pass on it. But I mean, it's not, it's good. I feel like there's a lot of stuff in this particular section that I'm just like, hey, it's just kind of here. I got this in a grab bag as well. I mean, so it's just kind of one of those fodder throwaway albums that comes in those grab bags. Is it worth the like a clearance price tag or a you know, pretty much giveaway price tag? Absolutely, but that's about all I can say for it. Next up, we have some Louisiana black and death metal, and this one is actually pretty good. I do dig this one quite a bit. Still in the slipcase. This is Excommunicated with Skeleton Key. This is 10 tracks of just kind of dark themed. There we go. I love the artwork on this. Just dark themed black and death metal. Some of it feels more straightforward death metal, but you do have some black and some heavy black and themes going on throughout this. I believe they have another full length as well, but this is the only one that I happen to own. The booklet, I enjoyed going through this booklet. As far it had a little promo thing in there, but like reading through the lyrics and just kind of what the band has to offer in the booklet, I remember that being quite intriguing to me as well. So definitely check out if you're into black and death metal and you haven't heard Excommunicated with Skeleton Key. I'm an advocate for this release. I do enjoy this one. I don't even remember where I picked this one up in particular, but regardless, I'm glad that I have it in the collection because that one is really good. Speaking of really good, we have some Melodic Death Doom out of I forget where this band is from. Sweden, maybe. I'm wanting to say Sweden, but that does not. I think it's more of an international band. I think one of the members is based in Sweden, and I forget where the other member is. The more that I think about it, I do believe that they're separated geographically, but I do think one of the members is based out of Sweden. This is Ex Genesis with their EP entitled Aphotic Veil. This is phenomenal. It's 5 tracks, and it was released on Rain Without End Records, which is kind of like the sister label of Nottermocked, and I love Nottermocked and Rain Without End. So I remember ordering this pretty soon after it came out. I don't think I got in. Oops, I dropped the disc. I don't think I got in time for a pre-order, but I wasn't that keen on I didn't find it that soon, but it hadn't been out long. It came out in 2015. It hadn't been out very long when I actually placed my order on it, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Just melodic Death Doom done absolutely right. The follow-up to it, the full length, all they have is this, the EP and their full length. This came out in 2020. It's pretty good. I like Aphotic Veil. I like the EP a bit more. This one is Solve et Coagula by Ex Genesis. Still very good. I mean, it has that same feel, that melodic Death Doom feel going on, and it's the same musicians and everything going into it, but for some reason, just the Aphotic Veil, that one hit me a little bit harder than this one did. Next up, we have some Swedish grindcore. This is Exhale with a Prototype. This is very riff heavy grindcore. It's only 14 tracks, so it's not just that fast-paced, relentless 30-second song grindcore. This one kind of teeters into death metal territory, and I can dig this. It's pretty solid stuff. You don't really find I don't particularly find a lot of Swedish grindcore, so that's not usually what I find or expect, where I expect to find grindcore. So This one was kind of a nice little surprise. I really dig this one. The riffing on that is absolutely fantastic. Let me see. Let me clear a little space and we will continue on. The next few are going to all be from the same band. Band that started out as gore grind and then kind of introduced some melodics into their sound, that kind of mellow death vibe into their sound, and kind of went to a death grind. We're talking about Exhumed. I don't have their first full length. I did pick up Slaughter Cult, which is their sophomore release. This is that leans more into that grind, that straight gore grind sound. This is the better of their earlier albums, I would say. This is another one of those. I've shown them a few times through this. That is the radio copy with the little Sharpie marks on it. The ones that I picked these albums up from, these radio ones, had to be like some kind of college radio or something, because you just don't hear stuff this brutal on regular radio. So this came out back, in 2000? I know it's been out for a while. Just nasty stuff. I mean, you can look at that artwork and know what you're getting into there with Exhumed. The one that came after that, Anatomy is Destiny. This is where they started introducing those melodics and that death metal, that almost Swedish sound into the mix, instead of just being like this. In this album and the album prior, they just kind of felt like straight up carcass worship, but at least they were doing carcass worship absolutely right. So this one, they started bringing in that Swedish melodic death metal sound a little bit. They didn't quite just nail it down just perfectly with this one, but the ideas are there. You could tell the direction that they were going. You could kind of see where they were going to wind up as far as in the future, as what their sound was going to be. But especially looking back, you can kind of see it, and it's definitely present on that one. And they had another album that came out after that I did not like at all, but the one that came out after is where it just seemed like to culminate and come together perfectly. And this is definitely by far my favorite Exhumed album. This is All Guts, No Glory. This is just death grind done absolutely right. It has that melodic, I don't want to say melodic death metal, but it just has that death metal, that Swedish almost sounding death metal fused in with gore grind. It just, they nailed it, put it together as perfectly as they possibly could with this release. It is definitely one of my favorites in the genre, and leaps and bounds my favorite Exhumed release. I love the artwork on it as well. I just love everything about this one. So, for the longest time, this was the only Exhumed album that I had in my possession. And then they kind of went back to their gore roots on this album. This is a horror. I got this one, I think, on the Relapse Black Friday sale. I think they had it going for like $5. This one, I don't. This is probably, of the 4 Exhumed albums that I own, it is probably my least favorite. They have plenty of other albums. At some point, I may expand upon my Exhumed collection if the mood hits me just right. As long as I have this one, generally I'm good. I know some of their later albums are pretty solid, just from what I've heard of them, but as long as I got All Guts, No Glory, I really don't need any other Exhumed, I don't think. Next up, this is a black metal album out of Bulgaria that a lot of people hate. Well, not many people at all. It's very underground. A lot of people haven't even heard it at all. And then a lot of people that have heard it don't really care for it. On the other hand, I really enjoy this. This is Exile with Hate Night. Very raw production on this. I think maybe the production woes in this are possibly some of the reason that people just don't like this. But I don't know. There's just something about it musically. Whether it be the riffs, I know the production is a bit off, but it's just something about this that I absolutely love. I can't hammer it down and put my finger on it. I mean, it's just dark, raspy, unpolished, great stuff, and it is unfortunately the only full length that Exile ever put out, and it came out back in 2013. But I do love that one, and like anytime you see like a 5-star rating system on that, it's always like 2 stars, and I have to be the one to go and put a 5 on it because it deserves it. Next up, I think this band is out of Poland. Could be wrong. This is brutal grindcore, if that's even a thing. It's brutal death metal and grindcore kind of fused together. This is Exit Wounds with their self-titled full length. Oh man, this is 30 tracks. Yeah, 30 tracks, and I think it's only like 23 minutes. So this is just fast-paced, relentless, brutal grindcore. I think the fact that it's only, they call it a full length, but it's just over 20 minutes. But it just being over 20 minutes definitely is about the right amount of time that you would want to spend with something like this. If you went past that 20-minute time period, it would become a bit repetitive. And I think it would just be a little bit much, just with the short tracks and just the relentlessness that this one offers. So they hammered it just right with the time scale on that. Next up is a kind of technical thrash to the point where it kind of teeters into death metal territory, and it has some power metal aesthetics going on in this as well. This is a band that I keep telling myself that I want to dig deeper into, and for some reason I don't. And I even own this album, and I don't spend the time with this that I want to. I keep telling myself all the time that I want to check more into this band, and for some reason or not, I just don't do it. I don't understand why. This is Ex Mortis, and this is their album entitled Slave to the Sword. And I really like this. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I don't listen to this more. It always gets put back and replaced by something else, something new, or something coming in, or something else that I want to listen to, and I just don't spend the time with this that it definitely deserves. And I want to dig deeper into their discography, but at the same time, I need to dig deeper into the album that I actually own. This was released in 2014 on Prosthetic Records, and I'm an advocate for this album, man. I do like it. I just don't know what my problem is why I haven't listened to it more than I have. Next up, we have some neoclassical music. This is Experiments in Darkness with From the Heart. And camera just froze up. I'm going to hang on just for a second to see if we get it back. And I'm just going to keep rolling. Anyway, as I said, neoclassical, a little bit different than a lot of the stuff that I've shown so far in all of these videos. Good mood music, good to kind of dim the lights and relax to. I apologize for that little break there, but I'm afraid the audio and stuff is going to be unsynced at this point, but at least we're towards the end of this video. So next up, we have some generic hardcore. This is Expire with Pendulum Swings. I got this in that Bridge 9 Records grab bag where about 90% of the albums that were included in that all sounded almost identical. It just sounds like generic hardcore to me, so I'm not going to spend much time on that. Next up, we have Expulsion with Nightmare Future. Just talking about Exhumed. This has Matt Harvey from Exhumed. He's one of the members of this. Has one of the members from Repulsion. It's kind of some more grindy, death grindy goodness. This is another radio. This looks like a promo that was sent to a radio station or something, because it has which tracks have profanities, when to do what dates that they want to run ads, and the tracks that are the focus tracks on the EP. So that's pretty neat. I don't know if you can see that right there. That's kind of cool that was on it. I got this secondhand. As you can see, it's a promo because it has that hole punch and the barcode. A pretty good EP. I do dig this one. I know some people had kind of mixed reviews as a whole for Expulsion, and but the people that like this, like myself, really do like this. Unfortunately, they haven't put out anything else, so maybe in the future we'll hear some more Expulsion. Next up, this one's kind of funny. This is some death metal. I forget where this. I think the band's out of California. I could be wrong. Maybe Maryland. I know that completely other sides of the country, but that's what I have in my head. Either California or Maryland, I think, is one of the two, and it's probably neither. It's probably New Jersey or something. But this is Exterminates with Vomiting the Trinity. This one left like a sour spot with me and it was no fault of the actual album. This CD is 16 tracks and it goes well over an hour long. A death metal release that goes well over an hour long is it's gonna play itself out unless it's just something that is completely new and groundbreaking. You're going to get tired of listening to it. Well, this CD is 16 tracks, but the actual album is only 9 tracks. Tracks 10 through 16 are all bonus tracks of earlier material. In my head, when I was listening to this the first time, I didn't read through the liner notes or anything. It's not noted anywhere on the disc that those are bonus tracks. So after a while, I'm just like, man, this album is going on forever. It felt very front heavy. It felt like about halfway through, the album just kind of disintegrated and went downhill. It had no kind of flow. And that's because it was a mashup of prior. I was in the midst of the bonus tracks, and like it was like a compilation that it's not going to flow. And I was just tired of hearing it. And later on, looking back, I found out that it was bonus tracks that I was actually listening to, and the full length was only 9 tracks. That would have been nice to know going in. I'm not the biggest fan of bonus tracks on albums. Sometimes I don't mind, but I would almost rather bonus stuff just be like on a separate, like do a 2-disc set, or just leave it off. I know the band is trying to give something extra to the people that are picking up the album, but when I purchase an album, I want the album, and I want to be able to play through the album and it be the album and not hear the other stuff. But that's just a small little gripe. I think that's just me being a bit, I guess, being a prima donna with the way that I look at it. Next up, this is some evil. This is some black metal out of Italy, and this can be some scary stuff. This is Exterminates with Dichotomy. Man, listening to this can be downright terrifying. It makes me feel like I'm conjuring up something when I'm listening to this. This is one that I almost prefer to listen to in headphones. I'm almost scared to play it out loud because I don't know what's going to be in the room listening to this with me. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It is good. The production on this is outstanding. The production mix is phenomenal. I don't think that this band ever got the attention that they probably deserved. They have 2 other full lengths that I know. This one is the kind of middle of the 3 that I know. This is like their second release. The first one was phenomenal as well. At some point I want to get my hands on that one. But it's dark, occult, scary stuff there. And obviously I got to follow that up with something a bit lighter. This is Exile. This is Christian metal out of Norway. This is their self-titled. Came out in 2013. I didn't think it had been out that long. This is probably my favorite Exile release. It is the only one that I have sought out to keep in the collection. It has death metal feels. It has some cleans in it. It's got a very progressive feel going on in this as well. Some atmospherics, but it's done very, very well. I don't really think of stuff like this coming out of Norway, but it works. This band does it. I mean, they're pretty much experts at their craft at this point. So definite good album there, and a good pickup from just that dark Dichotomy album that I showed just before that. That's all I've got for this. As I said, in the next video, we're going to have a few more of the E albums, and then we'll jump right into the F section, and we'll just keep it coming. So that's all I've got for today. I will see you guys next Sunday. Stay classy, stay metal, and I'll see you soon.